It's so hard for me to read one book a month, though, because I'm like, I want to finish.
And we are live, so hello. This is going to be our live show for The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan for the Riordan Alone. So,
Hello. Campers, I don't know how many of you are here.
Currently, there's nobody. That's why I'm like...
Okay, so while we wait for people to show up, we can do these quizzes.
Well, let me first find my note in my phone about all the questions. And I'm going to tweet that we're live.
I just want to know how well you would do on the Percy Jackson quotes quiz.
Okay, well, we'll do that after because I won't be awful.
Oh, and I'll send you the quizzes that I'm taking in the private chat because why the heck not?
Okay. I will say for anybody that is watching this back, we're going to be a little awkward at first because we're still trying to figure out how we want to structure these lives and what exactly are questions we want to ask. So, yeah. And then also there is a Godly Parent quiz down below in the description that we took before the live started that gave us that we are both the daughter of Athena.
We do be sea stars.
Hello, cool gamer. Thank you for being here.
Woo!
We're not just talking to ourselves.
Yay!
Woohoo! And hello, Reese. So that we actually have people to talk about with, and we're not just like mumbling to ourselves.
Rules for the chat. Do not spoil future books. Otherwise, you will be in trouble with the Oracle. I couldn't think of a good threat, but
that works.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Because while the series may have been out for close to 20 years.
Yeah, because it's 2005. That's 17 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
I was a year old when this came out.
I was 5. But either way, yes, this series and the other books in Rick Riordan's universe did come out a long time ago. A lot of people didn't read them for a multitude of reasons. So don't spoil anything because that is a dick move.
Yeah, like there are 2 whole series that I haven't read. Like I haven't read the Magnus Chase books or the Kane Chronicles. So if you mention something of those, spoilers.
And I haven't read Kane Chronicles or Trials of Apollo. I didn't finish Trials of Apollo.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yes.
This 2005
was published.
Wasn't it? I feel like it was May 2005, but I could be wrong.
Oh my gosh, I can't type. Location date. June 28th, 2005.
Yeah, I was close. I said May 2005.
So, yeah, Percy Jackson and the Olympians just turned 17 years old.
Yeah, which is
scary.
Insane.
The film that we don't talk about was released in 2010, and that is how I first discovered the series. So I guess we could talk about kind of like art.
Well, yeah, like I have one thing that's like introduction, so that could be like how we discovered these books and how we first read them, because this book was a reread for both of us.
Yes, I'll show you my copy. Is very beat up, but the cool thing is that it's signed, and I got it for free out of a free bin at a used bookstore. Signed. I didn't know it was signed until I brought it home. I just was like, hey, I know this book. So we will go through the comments probably. I don't know when we'll go through the comments.
Like, as we go, as they fit. Like, we mentioned the movie. Reese personally loves the movies.
You are the only one.
Yeah, I've only seen the first movie, and like it was crap compared to the book, but
Like,
the movie
even
as
on
a
their
whole,
own, they're not great
it
movies
wasn't
at all.
It was okay. That's in my opinion. Okay, compared to the book, it was like
garbage.
3 out of 10.
No, not even a 3 out of 10.
I'm being
Nick Riordan doesn't even acknowledge the movie's existence.
Okay, it's like a 1 out of 10. Because like the only thing that stays the same is like characters' names.
Pretty much.
Basically. As its own, it's like a 4.
Also, I'm salty about what the production company for how I should say how the production company for the Percy Jackson movies fucked over Rick, because it took him, the reason we didn't get any more adaptations and why the TV show is not coming out until either later this year or beginning of next year, most likely.
Late next year because they're filming until January.
Because they fucked him over, and he did not actually have the rights to his own characters. So,
hello, Alicia. I kind of didn't expect you to show up here, but thank you for being here. And I didn't like the first one at first, but then I watched the sequel and I loved it. So now I love the first one.
Low-key judging you. Actually, it's not even low-key.
Low-key. It's like we're judging you, but like in a fun way.
Yes, a fun way.
Yeah. Phone, can you work, please?
I could go into a whole rant about everything wrong with the Percy Jackson movies, but we would be here for several hours.
I mean, I have the StreamYard hours, so
maybe I guess since we're talking about the movies, I can go into a couple of things that I didn't like.
We're completely off course.
Something that bugged me the most was that they didn't keep the essence of the story the same at all. And that's what bothered me the most. Like, I didn't care that they aged up the characters because they were trying to appeal to an older, larger audience than just a bunch of 12-year-olds. But the things in the book that made Percy Jackson a relatable person and character were not in the movie. It just felt very flat. Yeah, and I just literally everything that I despise the movies. I hate them so fucking much.
But we loved the book.
Oh, I love the books.
So what did you rate it?
If I'm remembering correctly, I believe I gave it a 5 as per usual. I reread this book at least once a year, so it's never been less than a 5.
This is your second time reading it since I've known you, and I met you end of April. Yeah. I gave it a 4-star, and I think it's just because I don't have as of like a emotional connection or like I loved it, but it's not a favorite. It never will be a favorite.
Yeah,
but it is one that I can appreciate. Like, I was 15 when I first read this, but I have a feeling if I would have read it like when I was like 11, 12, 13, I would have loved it even more.
Yeah, I first read this series. I actually saw the movie first because my best friend was like, hey, we want to go see this movie. Like, there's a really cute guy in it, Logan Lerman. That was when Logan Lerman... I mean, I'm not going to deny that Logan Lerman is a very attractive person. So she was like, yeah, like... And then I don't even know how I discovered that they were books, but I did. And so I picked up the first book. I was maybe 12 years old. And so I read it and I identified, and this was before I was diagnosed with ADHD or placed on the spectrum or anything like that. So when I opened the book and I was reading it, I was like, holy shit, I relate to these characters on like a deeper level than I had related to any other character. Um, so yeah, this is the book that really got me into fantasy.
But when I read it, I had already read, like, I just looked at Goodreads, and it was August 2019 when I read it, and I'd already read multiple other fantasies at that point that I loved more and that introduced me really to the genre.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I would have read this like for the first time, let's say last year, I don't think I would have liked it because I would have been like, oh, it's so juvenile compared to everything else that I read.
Yeah.
Even though, like, obviously it's a middle grade, it's meant to be like for a younger audience, but because I read it when I was a little bit younger,
okay.
Like,
so I feel
it's a book that everybody can enjoy.
Yes.
And but it's just my reading, for example, last year, like in 2021, was a lot different than like 2019. That's what I'm saying of like my reading matured. And so that's why I think I wouldn't have liked it as much if I would have read it for the first time last year, or even if this would have been my first time reading it, it probably would have been like a 3.5.
Yeah, well, I make no secret of the fact that I love the Percy Jackson series.
And I would tell anybody that wants to read it, you're never too old to read it for the first time.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're talking relationship to the book, I had an Instagram account a long time ago. It is no longer in existence, so don't bother searching for it. I deleted that account. Literally dedicated to the Percy Jackson books. Yeah, it was interesting, and you can tell it was old when I made it because some of the screenshots were from when Instagram was blue. Yes, I had been using Instagram for that long.
Wow.
I think I started using it before the Heroes of Olympus was even like out completely. I think the third book had just come out when I started reading the books because I was 10 or 11 when I started.
Nice. So. Reese is the child of Aphrodite.
I just wanted to show off this because it's pretty.
And Reese gave it 3.5. I think it's because I'm older. Yeah, because
that's fair.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Reese, but didn't you read it like the beginning of this year? I think so, if I remember correctly.
So I didn't end up reading the illustrated edition like I thought I was going to. The font was just too weird. But I did want to talk about the illustrations that were done because John Rocco has worked with with Rick Riordan for a while. And so this is just an example. Spoiler alert, if you haven't read the first book, A, I don't know why you're here, and B, yeah, just heads up. This is when they're in the underworld. The pages are actually black with white text instead of the typical white with black text. So.
End of last year in December. Okay, I was pretty sure that you had read it when, like, around the time I met you, which was December. So I was like, was it December, January? I couldn't remember.
So.
I know that I just have some Phone,
Yeah.
can you stay open for 2 seconds so I can read what I pulled up?
This is that's how I started the series. Saw the movies first, enjoyed the movie, read the book, then hated the movie. And I still hate the movie to this day.
See, the thing is, I don't even remember what, like, why I even started it. I think I genuinely do not know. I'm trying to think, and I don't even remember why I picked it up. I think maybe it was like I really heavily started reading in 2019, and everybody was talking about this because obviously it's such a popular series that I was like, oh, I guess I should read it.
Yeah.
And so I did, and then I've read obviously the Percy Jackson books, the Heroes of Olympus books, and then the Trials of Apollo books. So and now we are here.
But yeah.
In January 22. Yeah.
So
I was right with January.
Where do you want to start with the question?
I don't know, because my questions, I'll just do a rundown of what are the questions so we can kind of think a little bit and all of that. So we've already introduced ourselves.
You know
do you want to share a little bit about the book and like an overview?
Yes.
I'm giving that to you since you've read it like a million times.
I used to keep track of how many times I've reread books, but okay. So for those of you who don't know, Percy Jackson and the Olympians follows a 12-year-old boy named Percy Jackson who discovers that he is a demigod, half human, half god, specifically the Greek gods. And this first book is following him throughout his first quest, where he has to both come to terms with the fact that he is not entirely human and not normal, and to retrieve Zeus's lightning bolt and return it to him while also traveling to the underworld to attempt to save his mother. So, that's kind of the general synopsis. If I say too much more, I will give too many spoilers away at the beginning. There will be a spoilery discussion, but we want to try and keep like the first little bit of this as non-spoilery as possible. Because for anybody watching back who might not have read this series or whatever, that's kind of like what we're aiming for. But there will be a spoilery section of the video. We have a banner for that. So
yeah, did I make it or did I say I said I was gonna make it and
you made it?
Well, I said no spoilers for future books.
Yeah. So actually, fun fact about this series, in January of last year, December of last year, I apologize, it hit 600 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, being at the top of that list. 600 weeks. And if you've read the book, you know why the number 600 is significant. But, like, 600 weeks. Holy cow, that's insane.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start off with, the writing. As much as we can say without spoilers, because this is going to be spoiler-free, so I'm wanting to ask the more
non-spoilery questions.
Non-spoilery things.
Personally, I love Rick Riordan's writing because he has written his books with the age range they're marketed for in mind. But not in a way that like talks down to the reader or makes the reader feel stupid. He writes in a way that assumes that the reader has like emotional intelligence, of course, and he makes the characters very relatable. Um, and specifically as somebody who has ADHD, even as a kid, I was like, these characters are so relatable because they were my age doing similar things that I did, like mentally. Obviously, I wasn't out fighting monsters from Greek mythology. I wish I was though. That would have been interesting. But I enjoy his writing style because while there are very comedic moments in his books, he does have the ability to take those comedic moments and then turn them into something more serious, to where like these kids are having like whole perspectives on like everything that's going on, and he makes it feel like those perspectives are important. Um which I'll get more into as we get into the series and then the later books as the characters get older. But I guess I like his writing because it doesn't talk down to the reader and doesn't like assume that they're just like some dumb 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, and like I definitely agree with all of that, and just the way that everything everything flows nicely in the writing, where it's just easy to read, easy to comprehend.
Yeah.
You, not that you don't really need to think while reading, but when you're reading, you're more thinking about what's going on, and
Yes.
it like when you're reading it, at least how I felt is I was reading it, but everything was flowing nicely that I almost didn't realize I was reading it. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
And I think that testaments to how great of a writer Riordan is, because the story progression is very natural. None of it feels forced. It feels like it's a story that like one could actually be telling, where it doesn't feel like we were here and then we went here and then we went back here, and it was like there
And
wasn't like this
then,
whole and then
and
and then and then and then.
yeah,
It was like you got to see the story progression, and I like how he's able to do that instead of making it feel like this is where we are and now this is where we are. It's more of like okay, this is how we got to this point and this is what happened along the way to this point, and then this is the point that we're at now.
yeah, and also as we're going through these different events, the way that the emotions are tied in and don't feel forced with the writing, because I know there are some books that I have read where it's like, are you trying to tell us how the character's feeling or are you showing us?
Yes.
And it's definitely more showing everything that's going on, how the characters are feeling and processing it instead of telling us.
Yes. Rick is very good at showing rather than telling.
Yeah.
So, loved the writing. I love all of Rick's writing. And also, like, I like how the characters kind of break that fourth wall as well. Like, even on the first page of
Yes.
the series, it's like they say, if you're reading this because you think you might be one, my advice is blah, 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 blah. Like, they're
Yeah.
talking to the reader as if Percy is sitting in front of you telling you this story. So that's something else I really enjoy about Rick's writing, is the kind of the fourth wall break. It kind of makes you feel like you're a part of the story instead of just reading the story.
Yeah. You're just immersed in everything.
Exactly. Like you're experiencing the same things the characters are.
Yeah. Um I love fourth wall breaks and everything.
I enjoy them if they're done well.
Yes, there has been some that I've read. I can't think of any off the top of my head where it's like, okay.
Well, even in some movies and stuff, it's a little bit weird too. Like in some places, like for example in Deadpool, there were a couple of places where he broke the fourth wall, and I'm like, did you really need to do that though? Like, really?
Yeah. But in this, it was just like perfectly done, that it didn't feel forced.
Yes. Because it's not like it happened throughout the story. It was just like, this is the beginning.
And it's kind of to, honestly, breaking that fourth wall for that first, like, paragraph is mainly, like, the first little bit. It honestly grips you and makes you more intrigued. Because you're almost like, oh, is this how it's going to be written the whole time? Or so then you're gripped and you keep on reading, and then you're just reading it because you enjoy it.
Yeah. So, yes.
Yeah. Ooh, let's talk about the characters.
Gladly. Now, I will talk about these characters all day, every day.
Oh yeah, I know that you're gonna be the one that's gonna be talking during most of these, so I'm like, you have thoughts. I'll put my input. But do you want me to put the spoiler banner, or do you want to talk about it spoiler free?
We can talk about. I don't know if I'm going to be able to restrain myself from talking about the characters without spoilers.
That's why I'm like, we'll put the spoilers.
Throw up the spoiler banner.
It deleted it for some reason.
That's annoying.
We'll do the spoilers / no spoilers for future.
Spoilers ahead. Hope I'll let you go first because I don't know how to shut the fuck up when talking.
Really, as I'm making this banner.
Daddy.
There, I'll just put that. It's spoiler warning. How do I even put my thoughts into words? We really should have prepared this beforehand and actually wrote down notes.
I mean, I have my annotations in my book.
Yeah. I'll just quickly read this one comment. I'm on book 4 now, and I've only started reading it recently. Fell in love with this series. LOL.
Yes.
Yes.
Please remember, do not spoil your books.
We are just talking about the first book, so any thoughts you have on any of the other books, save them for future live shows because we don't want to risk spoiling people that have only read the first book. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that with the characters is I don't honestly know my thoughts on the characters, and like, I don't know, for example, with Percy, I enjoy how in his arc of like accepting that he is a half-blood and accepting everything that's thrown at him, while it's a difficult journey, he doesn't let it like consume him in like that's his only focus. If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it does. Do we want to talk like character by character?
I don't know. That's just the first character that I had a thought.
Let's just break it down character by character.
Thought of, so
yeah, we'll just break it down character by character.
Okay. And another thing I love about Percy is how adamant he is on doing what he is, not doing what he's told to do, but like when he gets his mind on something, he's going to do it. Like saving his mom.
So, yes. There's a lot that I can say about Percy, especially in this first book. I found him relatable in the sense of what he was feeling when he lost his mom, because those are feelings that I myself am very familiar with. I don't want to go into too much detail about that. But so how he was feeling, like he even has like a really good quote to describe it, how he was feeling. I marked up my book because I've been doing that lately. Is let me find the quote because it really resonated with me. There it is. So the quote is, my mother was gone. The whole world should be black and cold. Nothing should be beautiful. And this is in reference to when he sees Camp Half-Blood for the first time. After waking up from the Minotaur attack. That's something I really appreciated about his character. And I also like how he wasn't okay with just like putting his mom to the side for the sake of everybody else. And I also appreciated how Rick was able to almost humanize Luke, especially because like we know what happens between Luke and Percy at the end of this book.
Yeah.
But he's able to make even Luke relatable because Percy is like, I totally understand where this guy is coming from because I'm feeling pissed off at the gods. I would, like, if I could, I would definitely do something about them. And obviously he has differences between Luke and, well, we will talk about those as they become more prevalent in the series. But I like how in this first book Rick points out the similarities between them, and I guess I'm talking about Luke now. I like
that's okay.
I like how complex Luke's character is because something that Rick is good at doing is making him appear human and making him relatable, because when he explains his story, when he's telling Percy about his quest and about how he got to Camp Half-Blood at the end of the book, when we experience the pit scorpion or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Obviously we're like, hey, like obviously like don't attack Percy, but like whatever. But reading that, especially as an adult now, I can totally understand and kind of relate to where Luke was coming from at just being so angry at the world, at his parents, at the gods in general, just because he felt so abandoned and so alone. It was easy for me to be like, yep, totally understandable why you feel that way. Because if I was in your shoes, I would probably be feeling either the same way or very similarly of, I want these people to pay. So, and I also like how Luke in the beginning, like, you even see like little cracks in Luke's facade even towards the beginning of the book.
Yeah, I noticed that of like the first time I read this, I never would have thought that.
Yeah.
We know how
the big
he ends
twist
at the
isn't
end.
revealed.
Yeah, I was like,
but we have
even
moments
just
towards the beginning of, this doesn't seem right, or this is
but the
weird.
first time I read it, I was just like, oh, this is his character and how he acts. And now the second time around, I was like, how did I not see it?
You've been suspicious since the beginning.
Yeah, like I was like,
it's not a new thing.
Yeah.
Also, I like how intelligent this is. Just a generalization for all the characters. Like, I know there's like in the fandom, there's like a stereotype that like, oh, Percy's super stupid because, you know, seaweed brain. But what Rick is really good at is making all of his characters very intelligent in their own way.
Yes.
So like with Percy, his intelligence is when it comes to relationships with other people. Because of his relationship with his mom and his stepfather, who I do want to talk about as a character because I have thoughts. And then but watching the relationship between his mom and his stepfather and his perceived relationship between his mom and his dad, and his relationship with Grover. That's where I feel like Percy is the most intelligent, is with relationships. And with Luke, his intelligence comes from being able to pinpoint when something isn't fair or just. He just sucks at being able to express those feelings in a healthy way that does not include the attempted murder of a 12-year-old boy. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Reese says, I didn't trust Luke because I saw the movie first. Also, Percy is a baddie.
Yeah, that is definitely something that the movies did not do as well as the books, is they did not hide Luke's issues very well. It kind of felt like out of the gate you knew that this guy was going to be the bad guy. Whereas in the books, you were like, wait, I wasn't like, yes, he was like, Hope explained, like, yes, he was, his facade was kind of falling apart, but you just kind of assumed that that was his character because he's this, 19-year-old guy taking care of a 12-year-old kid. And sometimes that's really annoying. But, like, and so you get kind of annoyed with the kid. But,
yeah.
like, then, because when I first read it, I was not expecting the twist of, oh, by the way, I'm going to kill you now.
Yeah, I remember just being like, I'm sorry, you're going to do what now?
But
Why?
I totally agree that Percy is a badass because dude gets up with pit scorpion venom, which is apparently super potent, and he walks his ass back to camp.
Yeah, he's just like,
He's just
okay, let's just go back.
And then that's when he faints because the naiads the dryads are the ones that help. The naiads are water, dryads are air. Or earth. But yes. So since we're talking about Luke, do you want to talk about Annabeth and Grover? I fucking love Grover, man.
I fucking love him too. He is like not that he's like the bit of comedic relief, but like in some points, he is.
I have a quote for Grover as well.
And the way that, how do I want to word this, is like, with Grover, I love how persistent he is on wanting to succeed and how he'll do anything to do that. And
yep.
it's almost like I almost admire it because, like, kind of like Percy, he has his mind set on something, but obviously different things, different reasons behind them. But I just enjoyed that of how it was like, he was just like, we have to keep on doing this, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But also cared about what was going on and didn't have that as his sole focus.
Yeah. Something I appreciated about Grover is that he learns from his mistakes, even between what happens with, people say it Thalia or Talia. I say I go.
I think I've always
said Thalia.
I think I've always said Talia.
I don't know how to pronounce it. We will figure it out when the TV show comes out.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, if we pronounce anything wrong, we are sorry.
The TV show will correct us.
Yes.
Will we continue to say it right after that? Probably not. But
absolutely not.
Even like between his experience with, bringing Talia, Annabeth, and Luke to camp, like the differences, as far as like the mistakes go. I don't want to call them like mistakes, because yes, he does screw up, but at the end of the day, Dahlia
Everybody does.
chose her path, and she did the thing that I would probably never fucking do. Like, but anyways, one of my favorite scenes with Grover is when they're talking about how this is towards the end, so page 268 is where I'm looking right now, and they're kind of strategizing about why certain things are going the way that they are, or like, for example, why Hades is kind of all over their asses, and assuming that and he goes, they're talking about like people are expecting Percy to already have the bolt in his possession, and so they were talking about how the guy in the dream failed, and so Percy goes, "If I'd already retrieved the bolt," I said, "why would I be traveling to the underworld?" To threaten Hades, Grover suggested, to bribe or blackmail him into getting your mom back. I whistled. "You have evil thoughts for a goat. Why, thank you." That's just one of my favorite scenes because I'm like, iconic right there.
Yes.
And also, I like how Rick added depth to Grover's character. Like, he actually was there. He gave Grover his own motivations. He gave Grover his own like likes, dislikes, wants, and fears and everything. Like, the whole Medusa thing, again, going back to talking about characters' intelligence, Grover is very emotionally intelligent in the sense that like he can tell what other people are feeling. Yes, he has the link with Percy, but that doesn't really get explored until later books. We just know in this first book that they have that link because he can sense Percy's emotions. But like, even when it comes to like Annabeth or just nature in general, he's able to be like, okay, this is this, and this is that what they're feeling, and so he's able to be like kind of able to help people in that situation. Can he help himself? Not really, but like people who are emotionally intelligent sometimes don't know how to be emotionally intelligent with themselves. But that's Mr. Grover for you.
Yeah.
And then we have Annabeth, who I love her to death.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed her story arc because at the beginning she was very like stoic and being like, okay, this is how things have to be done. This is the plan, and we are sticking to this plan. Because obviously we know Annabeth is very intelligent. Obviously with her being the daughter of Athena and everything. But we kind of watch her like learn how to adapt to the plan changing because she's very used to being in control. So watching her grow by experiencing things that are out of her control and learning how to kind of go with the flow sometimes was really interesting to read, because at the beginning, like, we know she starts off not really liking Percy Jackson, and she's like, okay, this guy can't be the person that I was waiting for. Like, this guy can't. And then at the middle-ish end, when they're traveling to the underworld and stuff, and Percy goes, if this does turn out like the Trojan War, and people side with if it turns out to be a war between, Poseidon and Zeus, like, and the gods wind up where they may, Percy is like, where are you going to stand? And Annabeth goes, I don't care where my mom stands. I'm going to fight next to you. And Percy's like, why? And she's like, because we're friends. Any more stupid questions? Kind of like, I like watching her relationship with Percy kind of grow from this like, I don't fully trust you and I kind of think you're gonna screw me over, to the, hey, we're friends now. Like, cool. We're friends.
Yeah. I almost feel like I can't add much to that because a lot of that's my thinking of how you see her grow and learn to accept that things don't go the way she wants it to, and having to adapt to that.
Yeah.
Especially because in the beginning, she almost seems like a character that wouldn't be willing to adapt to any sort of change that isn't her control.
Yeah. Very stuck in her ways, very stubborn. And I mean, at the end of the book, she still is very stubborn. That's not something about
Yeah.
her that changes because she is a very prideful character. Which again, that's addressed later in the books. But that is something that I enjoyed as well, and also seeing her like with Grover, because Grover still blames himself for what happened to Thalia and everything, and Annabeth is like, no, dude, like she made her decisions to do what she did. I would not be sitting here with you guys if you didn't save my life. So, like, I'm not mad at you for doing what you had to do. So, that was also really nice to see that, like, while she does have a lot of pride, she also knows, like, when to be like, no, this is, like, not anybody else's fault. This isn't anybody's fault. Blah, 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 blah.
Definitely.
So, do you want to talk about our queen, Sally Jackson?
Yes.
Because I love that woman. I will let you go first.
I don't know. I don't. It's not that I don't have any specific thoughts on her, but you can tell that just in everything that she does is like all the choices she makes is for Percy.
Yes, except for her choice at the end of the book.
And yeah, that
is for her.
That's for her, and that is for just her to do what she wants and not have to not have to deal with anybody else, but just that's her choice. That's
Take care of herself.
To take care of herself and realize this is what I need. Yes, I've put like my son's safety first for so far his entire life, but I need to make a choice for myself
that will benefit both of us.
Exactly.
And I like another reason I like Percy's character towards the end of the book is he went on this whole quest to save his mother, but when he was in the underworld, he had this realization of if I save my mother and don't do the right thing, she would kick my ass. Like, she would come back from the dead just to kick my ass.
Oh yeah.
And so he's like, hey guys, we got to do the right thing in this situation. And so once all that happens, and he, even when he goes back to the surface world, Earth, I don't know what you want to call it. Like,
we'll go with Earth.
Once he goes back to his mom's apartment, and he tells her what's in the box, he says, I can do this for you. Like, you don't have to live like this anymore. I can take care of it. And Sally is like, you may be a lot like your father, but you're too much like me to know that if I do anything in my life, I have to be the one to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't mean shit to me.
Yeah.
Basically.
And Reese's comment of just Sally is sweet is like, she is a very sweet mother.
She's almost scary, and I am so excited to talk about her when we get to the last book.
Yeah, she's the type of mother that you do not piss off.
She will accept you into her home, but come for any one of her, like, by the end of the universe, she has, 17 children, basically?
If you hurt anybody that she cares about, we'll just put it that way.
She's like, these are my children. She's that TikTok sound that's like, whoever decided to put their hands on my kids, please come outside so I can peacefully break your legs.
Yeah. And you will see more of that as everything goes on. But yeah, I
I love Sally. I've always loved Sally. Were there any other characters you want to talk about? I mean, we don't really get to see a lot of other characters really develop in this book.
Yeah, like you see some of the side characters at like
You see
Camp
some of
Half-Blood,
Chiron.
and then you see some of the gods. But
I don't really have anything to add to the gods except
yeah,
for Poseidon probably could have explained his position to his son a little bit nicer than saying, "Hey, I'm sorry you were born, kid. You're kind of a mistake."
yeah, that's a little literally
like,
just like
he
he
realizes
is
that he's not supposed to be here, but like you reiterating that point,
yeah,
kind
of like
of a dick move, dude.
yeah, of Percy being literally told like you were born because your father broke this. How was it worded?
Sacred
Like
oath.
yeah, I was like
And
then
even Poseidon says like I'm he's like
I'm trying to literally find
whatever happens, you're a true son of the sea god. Let's see. Oh, I found the quote that I was looking for. There was a different light in his eyes, kind of a fiery kind of pride. You did well, Perseus. Do not misunderstand me. Whatever else you do, know that you are mine. You are a true son of the sea god. And before that, he says, oh, here it goes. It was just up on that same page.
Oh.
Your mother is a queen among women, Poseidon said wistfully. I had not met such a mortal woman in 1,000 years. Still, I am sorry you were born, child. I have brought you a hero's fate, and a hero's fate is never happy. It is never anything but tragic. So, and then even, like, Percy goes, I tried not to feel hurt. Here was my own dad telling me he was sorry I'd been born. So, yeah. It's interesting. Also, Gabe as a character. Obviously, he's a dick.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like... But the movie actor they did get to play Gabe Ugliano was kind of spot on. And kind of still how I picture Gabe in the books. So I will give the movie credit for that. That's one thing the movie gets credit for, is the casting of Gabe Ugliano.
Yeah, the movie can have that.
So.
Yeah, I don't think I have any other thoughts on any of the side characters.
I want to go back to Rick's writing for a second.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about this when we were reading the book, but you don't find out that Percy Jackson is the son of Poseidon until like the middle-ish of the book, or like towards the beginning, but not quite.
In the
within
capture
the first 200 pages is when we learn that Percy is.
Yeah, it's chapter 8.
Yeah, we find out, chapter 8.
So about a third in.
But earlier in the book, we still have references to how Percy is connected to the sea. And I highlighted a specific point when they're talking about dinner, and he says, the moment he said it, a horn blew in the distance. Somehow I knew it was a conch shell. even though I'd never heard one before. Because, so it's kind of like Rick was giving like little hints, like, hey,
Here you go.
see God.
And then obviously there was the bigger thing of the toilet.
Yeah, that too.
But that's the moment where you like it should click.
Yes.
But the conch shells are almost like I didn't even notice it, and then Morgan pointed it out, and I was like, oh.
I notice a lot.
And then everything just goes over my head.
Well, I've also read these books a lot. I mean, big fan. I can't tell.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know why I'm tired. I guess we could talk about favorite parts, least favorite parts.
So
all of that.
You mentioned when we were talking that you wanted to talk about locations in the book. So I'm from Colorado, and the book series goes back and forth, or comes back to Colorado like a lot. And in the first book, they talk about this place in Denver called, I think it's like Waterland, which I don't know if this was intentional on Rick's part or not, but there is actually a water park here called Water World. It does not have the rides that, well, actually, I don't know what it was like in 2005, but it was, but I've been there a couple of times, so it was just kind of funny to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And trying to imagine, like, where in Denver the diner where they meet Ares is and that kind of stuff. Because it's like, I wonder where Rick was picturing this. Because it's like, I mean, I'm glad he didn't put any street names or anything, because then I wouldn't have to be like, oh, these streets don't even go anywhere near each other. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
This thing doesn't happen until the end of the book. Reese.
Yeah,
You're thinking of two separate incidences.
Yeah, those are.
The first instance you're thinking of is when they're at the Golden Gate Arch, which is where they meet Echidna and have to fight the Chimera. And that's when he falls into the water, and the water spirit comes up to him and is like, hey, don't trust the gifts, but also your dad is summoning you to this place. So there's that. And then he mentions Gabe on the news when he at the end of the book, when he's done fighting Ares.
Yeah.
Which is badass, by the way. A 12-year-old taking out a god. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, literally fight me, bruh.
Yeah.
Fight me one-on-one.
Yeah. I want to quickly go back to the whole, like Waterland thing of, I love how there's, like, the tunnel of love, and Annabeth is just like, I wouldn't want to be cut. Of just how stubborn she is with that. It's like.
And Percy's like, dude.
It's like, just. Like. Yeah, might need to reread.
Yes, there is a scene like that. It's basically as soon as they begin their quest. The three Furies up on the bus, and they're like, where's Percy?
Yeah, they're like, where
is you? Oh, actually, they don't look for Percy. They're looking for it.
Yeah.
Which we later learn is the lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Or the Helm of Darkness. One of the two.
I think it is the lightning bolt. I know that one of my, it's not necessarily like a favorite scene, but it's one that, like, I guess always stuck out is the whole Medusa thing. I don't know why
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed that, especially how Grover was like, that looks like, oh, what's the uncle's name? Uncle
Ferdinand.
Yeah, Uncle Ferdinand, of how he's like, that looks like my Uncle Ferdinand. Later, that is Uncle Ferdinand.
Yup.
I don't know why that just like.
Also, Grover just flying around with these cursed magic shoes, just like whacking everybody with sticks. Hilarious. I love that scene.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what my least favorite scene is. It's kind of hard to pick like a least favorite as in one that I didn't like, but one that like gave me like the heebie-jeebies was when Percy was having that dream where he was standing over the pit,
Yes.
Tartarus, and like he was like this, even not even when they were there during like the during the quest, but like before they had even gotten there, and Percy was like looking over the edge and like just that pit of fear. I was like, oh, I feel that. That's terrifying because it's in a dream, and also things that happen in later books. Because I know what happens in later books.
Mm-hmm. I didn't like any time Percy interacted with Gabe. Yeah, but it's.
I mean, I can understand that,
Yeah.
but also it was very necessary to establish Percy's character, especially when it came to his relationship with his mom and his loyalty to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I really have a least favorite scene. Um, yeah, I don't know.
I could do without comparing Hades to like Hitler and stuff.
Yeah.
But
thinking that it's.
Rick did get a lot better with that as the books go on.
Well, yeah.
When it comes to diversity and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, a lot of these other questions are like, oh, kind of ones we've already answered. It's like, would you reread? Well, this is already a reread for both of us. Your however many reread on my second reread. Obviously, we know the answer to these next two of would you read another book by the author and would you read another book from the world?
Absolutely.
Obviously, that's why we're here, is to read all of the books in this world and other books by this author.
Except for his adult books.
Yeah,
we avoid those.
We have said that we will not be reading those. But I feel like everything else we have talked about.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wanted to just say something. I can't say much about this, but the whole like Lotus Hotel thing, without saying spoilers, knowing how.
Yeah, how it
almost
comes back.
It like without spoiling, it almost foreshadows other things.
If you want to talk about foreshadowing and also talk about what book we're reading next, there is a quote that I would like to share. My trip through Olympus was a daze. I passed some giggling wood nymphs who threw olives at me from their garden. Hawkers in the market offered to sell me ambrosia on a stick, a new shield, and a genuine glitter wave replica of the Golden Fleece as seen on Hephaestus TV. And with that, we will be leaving you guys with the knowledge that the next book in the series that we will be reading is Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. Okay, Zeus.
Do you want us to talk about you or something?
He wouldn't like what I have to say about him. But, yeah. So, we don't have a live show date for that set up yet.
It will
But
probably be within the first, 2 weeks of September. I know that September is kind of a bit busy for both of us because I go back to school beginning of September. Morgan goes back to school the end of August.
And my brother's wedding is in September.
Yeah, so plus other live shows for other commitments. Because I literally have, I literally at the beginning of within the first 2 weeks of each month will be having or being a part of 3 different live shows. So I need to pray that none of those are on the same days.
Yep.
But there is, I think I have it in the description to the Discord and the Twitter announcements for live show dates, the book we're reading for the month, if there's any sprints dedicated to the book, or the Discord always just has anytime we sprint, pretty much, we share the link so that you can either read the book that we are reading in the month or just any book that you are reading. I need to also set up the channel for Sea of Monsters in the Discord. I will do that right after this live.
Yes, the Lightning Thief channel will still be open, so don't worry about that closing.
And our only rule is do not spoil future books in the channel.
In the chat.
Yeah.
And if you do talk about any spoilers, make sure that you block it out for those people who might still be in the middle of the book that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
I think that is everything. Any other comments about the book or information?
Nope. I'm just hungry. Clearly.
Yeah, you've been snacking the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we have any other things. Anybody in the chat have anything they want to add? By anybody in the chat, I mean Reese, LOL. And then what we will be doing for future books is at the end we would rank them, but obviously kind of can't rank the first book because well, it's one book.
Yeah.
It was fun. Thank you for joining.
Thanks.
But I think we will leave this here. And bye.
Bye.